Hello everybody, Joe Bag Donuts here, welcome back for another episode of MUV Photonflowers, back over to the alternative side of stuff. I tried recording this episode yesterday, but the brain rot was just too powerful and I could not resist it. I tried getting through this wall of text, and yeah, it took a couple minutes, and I'm like, oh man, this is bad. Like, I could barely read, I could barely focus and formulate sentences, so I just gave up and went back to bed until, like, right before work. So, where do we leave off on? Confessions. 96, UN, Operation Prominence begins. I don't know if they told us what that was, an alternative, but if they did, I completely forget. 97, Japan, Takamura Yui enlists at Yamayuri Women's Training Academy. Cool. 98, Japan, Operation Gwangju, IJF assists UN and Korean forces in withdrawal from Korean Peninsula. Lieutenant General Ayamine held responsible for countless UN casualties. Yup. Also Japan, Hayase Mitsuki, Suzumi Haruka, and Narumi. I don't like that name. It's hard to pronounce. I don't like urs. Narumi Takayuki enlists in the now defunct Imperial Training Academy. Beta invade Japanese mainland. Uh-oh. The defense of Kyoto. The defense of Niigata. USA. U.S. unilaterally terminates Japan-U.S. security treaty. Withdraw troops from Japan. Kind of a dick move, and they're still pretty butthurt over it. Imperial Diet passes bill lowering conscription age for women to 16. Oof. 99. Namuri Takayuki assigned to A01. Munakanda Misai? Yeah, there we go. Enlists. Izumi Michiru, appointed captain of Special Task Force Squadron A01. UN, Operation Lucifer and Reclamation of Honshu. Second largest counteroffensive of the war thus far, after Operation... Yup. Pelaglioso go Greek. I can't speak Greek. It's all Greek to me, boys. Conducted by UN and Korean forces, UN-affiliated U.S. troops detonate 2 G-bombs to neutralize Yokohama Hive without notifying Imperial or Korean troops in advance. Oh! That's kind of... Yeah, that's not great, guys. I mean, but... Technically, Operation Lucifer wouldn't have worked without it, so... do the ends justify the means? That's for you guys to decide. Where were we? Kozuki Yuko proposes new Yokohama base. Receives immediate approval for construction of new UN base atop the ruins of Yokohama Hive to serve as alternative 4's primary research facility. 2000, joint U.S.-Japan TSF development project. XFJ program approved. The Imperial Diet approves of a plan to upgrade the Type 94 Shiranui, hoping to learn more modern American TSF development techniques. Japan, first deployment of the Type 00 Takamikazuchi. Europe, first deployment of the EF-2000 Typhoon. Back to Japan, Munakana Misai assigned to A01. Japan, Kazuma Toko enlists. 2001, good year, nothing bad ever happened in 2001. First deployment of the F-22A, fucking beast, what a monster. Back to Japan. Kazuma Toko assigned to A01. Mitsurugi Meiya, Sakaki Chizuru, Ayamina K. It's wild. I don't think I've ever heard, like, a single person ever, like, whenever I'm trolling around on, like, 4chan and, like, hopping between A and M. No one ever calls her K. It's always just Ayamine. Tamase Miki, Yoroi Mikoto, Suzumiya Akane, and Kashiwagi Haruko enlist. UN, Takamura Yui, who? Yuya Brigade, stationed at a Yukon base. Okay, sure. I totally know. Yeah. 2001, Japan, Shirogane, Shirogane Takaru arrives. I really wanted to call him Kurogane because, I've been spoiled a bit for the day after, I'm sorry. The coup attempt, the 12-5 incident, and Operation 21st Inheritance and Chicken Divers, which we will be doing Chicken Divers. Something, orbital drop troops. They look cool. English, please. I like how they use the American TSF. I'm pretty sure it was a F-22 for the English. Very, very cool of them. I like that. Here in the Orbital Diver Corps, we have a name for veterans who come back for a third drop. We call them chicken divers. Why? Altitude 500 kilometers. Low Earth orbit. UN Space Force orbital divers holding orbit. EL, 521. Chicken divers. I'm all alone in this cramped TSF cockpit. Place is quiet as a grave. Yeah, the coolest thing about Halo is the ODSTs. Fuck the Spartans. Orbital drop shock troopers, boys. Aside from the low humming of the electronics, there's not a sound to be heard. In space, no one can hear you scream. My gloves are sodden with cold sweat. I wonder how many times I've shifted my grip on the control stick by now. 500 kilometers up in the air, flying in low Earth orbit. Stuffed into a re-entry shell, I stare at the pale Earth as it passes by above me. Above? Yeah, I guess that would be your orientation if you're upside down. Even though there is no real concept of up or down in space. The view fills me with a familiar sense of dread as I wait to make my third drop. My hands are trembling. It's not like anyone can see me, but I've been trying to hide it by changing my grip on the control stick anyway. Words of self-mockery slipped out unconsciously. I'm a mess. Veteran in name only. At any rate, thinking someone's hot shit just because they made it to their third drop couldn't be more wrong. Best case scenario, orbital divers have a survival rate of around 20%. For every 100 new divers, about 80 died during their first drop. 16 bite the dust during the second. Nobody makes it through the third. We call new divers rookies, but they're far from it. Every one of them is handpicked from the ranks of veteran service pilots. Those men and women, they're the real deal. Me, I'm nothing like them. Other than a small heater to stop the cockpit frosting over, there's nothing to keep me warm. Sure, the fortified suit keeps the worst of the cold at bay, but being able to see my breath like this pisses me off. Makes me feel like I'm lying in a damn morgue drawer. It doesn't help that the reentry shell has a rather ominous nickname, the Flying Coffin. The reentry destroyers that carry us used to be called Flying Bricks. Compared to our coffins that can only fly in one direction, though, they may as well have all the grace of a swan. A fallen coffin dropping down towards hell on earth. And beneath the heavy metal cloud, a lovely hive awaits. Re-entry cremation, crash land burial, or a funeral pyre, courtesy of the laser class. The laser class. Not much point in picking my poison. Any of those options would render my corpse completely unidentifiable. You need a mop, not a body bag. I click my tongue and chastise myself, driving away those depressing thoughts. I've had it with them endlessly running through my mind. Rinchy Shell status monitor check, communication systems normal, life support systems all green. Orbital trajectory stable, no solar wind warnings, no contact on the debris sensor, all systems nominal. This must be the 100th time I've run a systems check. All I can do to keep my sanity. Turning on a TSF's main engine without oxygen would waste oxidizer. The destroyer provides just enough power for the bare essentials, communication and life support systems. There's really not much we can do from the time the coffin drops into the atmosphere till we hit the 2,000 meters and the outer shell is discarded. The handful of sub-thrusters can only make minor corrections to the descent trajectory and adjust the center of gravity. Damn, the nickname is a perfect fit. It's really gonna be like a corpse bouncing around inside a runaway coffin.
大原則化の姿勢制御なあ死んでもやる羽目にはなりたかねえんだが
Should the heavy metal cloud density over the target drop below the UN Space Force's minimum acceptable level, I'll have no choice but to execute a Dutch roll once the lasers start blasting. What's that? Is that when they fucking ditch the shell and just like start doing their thing? Although I do have a trick up my sleeve, an emergency release of the heat-resistant anti-laser outer shell. Standard operating procedure to keep it on until you reach 2,000 meters. Not that it would do any good anyway. Using the shell as a shield like that would only buy me a few seconds of safety. I'd be fried to a crispy brown by the second volley followed afterwards. Descending stark naked tends to do that to you. Cold sweat breaks out all over my body as an image from the past flashes through my mind. I slowly wipe the sweat from my brow with the back of my glove. My mouth dries up, so I sip some water from the supply pack.
More 何度目だ本気で初出撃の新任少尉様だな
I take a deep, slow breath to fight off the vicious feedback loop of anxiety and fear. Yep, don't let the dread set in. One of the secondary monitor bathes the cockpit in a pale blue light, reflecting my corpse-like visage on the auxiliary console. Oh damn, look at this cool dude. That hair definitely isn't in regs. In this light, I barely even look alive. I could swear that the face of a dead soldier stares back at me. Time slowly crawls by amid the hum of electronics. The pale earth on the monitor and the silent cockpit area make up the whole of my world. Solitude. I'm positioned in the middle of my wing, but we divers are isolated from the rest of the world until we descend into hell. Weirdly enough, reminding myself everyone else is in the same boat helps relieve my apprehension.
本当に一人になっちまったんだな
But we're like together in the solitude, bro. Overhead, Eurasia slowly drifts by. Barely 30 years ago after Kashgar, 80% of the continent is under Beta control. Might be from thousands of kilometers above, but seeing Earth like this is a privilege reserved for the destroyer's crews and divers. Privilege, however, isn't the right word. It's a barren wasteland, pockmarked with craters like the surface of the moon. Who would want to see the world like that? Yeah, kind of depressing. The first time, I thought it was beautiful. Second time, I felt nothing but fear. And now, the third time.
ああ、この眺めに価値なんてね。そんなもの、とっくになくしちまったんだ。
But despite that, even if certain death awaits, even though fear consumes us, there's no doubt that it's this land that gives us chickens, the courage and determination to volunteer for a third drop. That's right. I dropped on Lyon. I dropped at Mandalay. 96% of my comrades have died. And it was all for nothing. We veterans survived by turning our backs on the hive and fleeing like cowards. Never again. I haven't noticed, but my grip has tightened around the control stick. The fear is starting to subside. "5,000 meters until the re-entry point. The time draws near, the moment the fleet commander plans to launch the all-out strike. Yeah, 5,000 meters in space will happen like fucking that. Now, is it a go or a no-go? The bomber fleet already dumped its payload. It's a go. It has to be. We're jumping for sure. I wet my lips. With fleeting glances, I eye the dimly lit console on the side. Ah, fuck. Let me take a sip, reset my brain so I can actually read the words in front of me. Thank you, Boss Coffee, Rainbow Mountain Blend. I couldn't live without you. I owe you my life. Though it does kind of dry out my mouth because it's got it is kind of sugary, which is why I normally prefer regular black coffee. Ooh, this is going to sound absolutely disgusting to you guys, but the pot that I left on my desk still has some cold coffee in it that I brewed yesterday, so I'll be able to sip on that. Which, because I drink that coffee black, it's fine. It's just going to be disgustingly cold. Delicious. When I see my reflection, I no longer find a dead man staring back. Instead, I see a coward, a shadow of a man licking his lips. Just what am I fighting for? Atonement? Revenge? Recognition? With a grim smile, I wait for the commander's orders.
諸君、オペレーション佐渡島は順調に推移している。前艦所定通りの再突入に備えよう。第2から第4までの戦隊は
Showtime. My grim smile widens into a broad smirk. Overhead, we pass the Caribbean Sea. The homeland of those Yankee bastards who send us to our deaths comes into view. It's a pity those arrogant assholes get to live there, but it's one of the few places on Earth that remains pristine. Shining city on the hill we must preserve. My mind snaps into orbital diver mode. The mission's the only thing that matters. Oh damn, cool suit. How come your suit? Oh, you're probably one of the crews.
アクイラワン、オールステートグリーン。全装備固定完了。ノーモア AKJ。
アクイラ2、オールステートノミナル。全装備固定完了。
Oh shit, a dude with a regulations military haircut? What? Those exist in this world? Though I don't think I've ever seen a single person with the actual, flat top like that. Fucking guile-looking ass. Conversation breaks the silence for the first time in hours. Casual banter eases the tension. Mother Goose 1 is our point of contact in the destroyer carrying the Aquilius. Sure, I don't know what an Aquilius is, but... well, obviously it's the name of their little group, but... she's the only one we divers can talk to in real time. Screwing around like this is the only entertainment we've got left. Even Mother Goose doesn't have much to do, other than checking our status. As for us, playing block puzzles with a few supply packs we can stuff into our coffin grows old faster than you'd expect. There's no need to be all business all the time. Not that all business is an accurate description of us in a certain urban legend, repeated among divers as if it were gospel, if anything's to go by. AJK, Attack of the Killer Juice. That's a story all divers worth their salt know, about a guy who supposedly died from a loss of flight control after a carton of orange juice stuck under his seat erupted during deceleration and caused a short. Pretty morbid stuff, but also pretty funny. Sounds ridiculous at first glance, but it's actually possible. Plausible? Plausible. When we drop, we're nowhere near as graceful as the destroyer. The coffin can hit up to a maximum of 8.2 G during deceleration. It's small amounts, but 300 milliliters of liquid under 8 times the normal amount of pressure can have rather regrettable consequences.
もともと膠着可能エリアの前後マージンは5キロとないからね。ベテランらしいピンポイント効果に期待してるわ。
軽く言ってくれるな、アリーナ。
あのね、アンリとアクイラワン。あなたたちに無理なら後ろのひよっこは文字通りフライドチキンになるだけよ。軽くやってもらうしかないわ。
Even if the reentry shell wipes out all the enemy from the surface and the TSF lands successfully, we still need to regroup before the enemy herds return. If we don't, we'll be isolated and overrun. Any diver group unavailable to form at least a company-sized unit should link up with nearby divers. We've been trained to do that, obviously, but most divers want to fight beside the people they know.
へえへえマザーご加盟とあらば軽くやってみせやしょう
ふんわりカラッとフライドチキンはお任せくださいマザー
本気で頼んだわよ。
Mother Goose 1, Lieutenant Rena Terrivo. Terrivo? Okay. This is only the third time I've worked with her, but I've seen her face countless times in simulator training. It's become a reassuring sight. Both myself, oh god, look at all these fucking names. Henry Gietzen and my buddy, Lieutenant Alex Bjorker, have been hurled out by Rena twice before. Still alive and kicking. Our walking, talking good luck charm is the best company we could ask for.
第6機動航海兵団前期所定通りの再突入を開始せよ
再突入許可確認。本艦軌道離脱噴射まで300。指定制御アンビリカルコネクタ開放に備え、戦術機各員は全系統切り替え状況を確認せよ。
The Rinchi shell switches supply modes from using the destroyer's energy to its own built-in power source.
アクイラ1よりマザーグース1全系統切り替え確認再突入カーゴの操縦治療準備よし
接続パージ完了了解。カーゴ制御切り替え完了。アクイラ1、You have control.
Oh, wait, show us your unit patch. I want to see your unit patch. It looks cool. It's got like a falcon on it or
I
something.
have control
Our coffins, the two armored capsules inserted into a reentry cargo shell, are the smallest combat elements able to dive using the reentry shell system. She sells seashells by the seashore. Having the cargo controls transferred over to us marks the first stage of the drop.
制御切り替え完了確認。コネクタパージ。
アクイラ1パーチ確認オールグリーン
アクイラ2コネクタパージオールグリーン
The umbilical cable that was supplying us with power, oxygen, and communications has been severed. Now we truly are on our own.
本艦軌道離脱噴射まで120。頼んだわよ。アクイラ。
Mother Goose forces out a strained farewell. The cracks in her voice aren't because we've switched to wireless comms now. All the playfulness is gone, replaced but with earnest distress. It's understandable. This is a grim and thankless task. Out of all the orbital divers the operators send off, only 20% return. Most of the pilots she carried are dead. Chickens might joke about what fate holds in store for us, but that's not to say we take death lightly. We fight to honor those that came before us, dropped into their graves. That's why even though the chance of survival, third time or possibly low, we drop again, because we intend to carry on what they left off.
答えるべきは今か
Yeah, but instead of only one of the 6 having a bullet, it's the 5 chambers have a bullet in them and only one's blank. The second startup sequence for the cockpit control finishes. The light drives away the solitude and self-mockery. Or maybe it's more apt to say there's 6 bullets in the chamber, and, well, I guess not the chamber, but in the cylinder. And you just gotta hope that's a misfire when the hammer comes down.
了解軌道離脱噴射スタンバイ言われるまでもねマザ
軌道離脱噴射スタンバイまずビーチからハガキを送るから待ってろよ
Third drop. Everything has been for this moment.
佐渡島だかなんだか知らねえが
This will be no gentle re-entry. Those times are long gone. In the old days, when space flights to the moon bases were a national enterprise, safety during re-entry was one of the primary concerns. That's no longer the case. A 99.9999% survivability rate is a pipe dream. Re-entry shells only have a functional reliability of 91%. For every 100 divers, 9 won't even make it to the ground. Acceptable odds for the forces fighting the beta. Not like anybody's complaining, since an attack spearheaded by divers is much more effective than a pure land assault. Hell yeah, a fucking kinetic weapon, essentially. Altitude is 120 kilometers. Our beloved atmosphere starts to caress the outer shell. At last, it's game time. Stand by for release. The hour of our descent into Gehenna is here. Sure, I don't know what that is, whether we'll ascend into heaven again is a question for another time. There's no further communication from other goofs. The time for talking is way past. With merciless punctuality, the electric signal from the orbital control system releases the final bolt connecting us to the destroyer. So yeah, definitely being in the space fleet is the job to pick if you volunteer to join up. We give a brief farewell to Mother Goose. Maybe we'll meet again if we live through this day, but that's no longer a concern. The 20% survivability rate has completely disappeared from my mind. Aquilia too is wearing a smile on his face, but it's clear he's on edge. This is what real chicken must feel moments before becoming part of the menu. Eurasia extends beneath us, an acropolis of towering hives, putting us in the effective range of any heavy laser class nearby. However, for some reason, we aren't being fired upon. Experience from previous operation tells us what to expect, but being so exposed still gives me the shakes. I've never understood why they don't attack us. We're well within their range, but besides fire from our target hive, there's no lasers incoming. Are worms technically bugs? I don't know. This ridiculous banter helps psych ourselves up for the coming battle. Talking shit with a wingmate does wonders for your mental condition. Having a buddy around makes all the difference. Fucking clench those butt cheeks and go. Keep that blood in your head. Once we drop below 600 kilometers, the atmosphere will thicken rapidly. The destroyer would begin to slow down around here, but not our coffins. No, they fly in the face of such common sense, plummeting straight into the middle of the beta herds. This ability to bypass the enemy's defense is what makes sending orbital divers worth it. Going fast as fuck, boy! Netting the rockets negates the deceleration from atmospheric contact. The massive impact from forcing our way through rattles my skull. We're hurtling through the atmosphere, heading for the hive on an express elevator to hell. The force of deceleration decreases, and now it feels like my ass is floating again. Even though our backs face the Earth to better withstand the deceleration, the image projected from the retinal camera shows what's in front of us. Dropping towards the planet at terminal velocity makes all rookie divers piss themselves, some even faint from the sheer terror of it. Of course, the fortified suit automatically gives the noobs a shock to wake them up, and they're forced to face their fear head-on again. It's like those videos you see of people like in that amusement park ride where you sit in the ball that like launches you in the air and it spins around. I went on those once when I visited New Jersey with my dad. Really fun. But you see people like pass out in them, and then they wake up like still spinning in the air, and they scream and pass out again, just like that. Due to the strain deceleration puts on the heart, stimulants are prohibited. Taking sedatives, which dull the reflexes, would be unthinkable. An orbital diver must be willing, both body and mind, to finish the journey with their own strength. One can grow used to this by the third time. Affiliate 2 jokes are proof enough. However, the real danger is from what comes next, because fear is only psychological. At this stage, 9 out of 100 coffins would malfunction and disintegrate in midair. Good thing death happens in an instant, so there's no time to dread the Reaper coming. The rest of us, though, won't be so lucky. This velocity is intended to protect us from the hives below, but this is nothing compared to the pure horror of the 8.2 Gs of decelerating waiting for us at the end of this drop. The last locking bolt connecting our cargo shell with our armored capsule flies off. We begin our heavy deceleration and prepare for landing, but for us divers, that's just the start. At the same time, the shell continues on ahead of us to strike the hive. That's the diver's course way of saying hi to our beta friends. Plenty of red-hot metal boxes have been dropped, opening up countless holes in the stab, like a series of gargantuan leaks on the roof. Oh god, I'm dying. I'm fine. I think I'm fine. Whew. You ever just like choke on your own spit like a fucking retard? Oh god, where's my coffee? Ugh. But if we don't get down there ourselves, it'll all be for nothing. My eyeballs sink into my skull. My vision grows dim. My body's forced back into the seat. I can't even move a single finger. Doesn't matter. I must keep my grip on the control stick at all costs. If you get hit by lasers, the only option left is forcing the capsule into a Dutch roll. Back when I was on standby, thinking of doing that again made me break out into a cold sweat. But that's the only way of shifting the center of gravity without propellant. You'd have to fly by the seat of your pants, riding the flames like a surfer on top of a meteor. It's the last thing I want, but at that point I'd have no choice. That's why I can't let myself faint. I need to stay conscious just in case. I won't black out, no matter the pain. Almost there. Almost at the hive. I'm gonna smash it, blow a hole wide open into those monsters' heads until we've paid them back for every single man, woman, and child who died in Eurasia. Look at this fucking shonen protagonist of a fucking side story character. Oh shit, the budget! The budget! It's been a while since I last felt this sense of liberation. The intimate familiar sound of the F-15E Strike Eagle's engines fills me with energy. We confirm each other's locations with a now active data link and ensure we're on track for landing at our designated positions. This part could easily go wrong, get jumpy and overcorrect the approach vector during landing, and you'll be up shit creek without a paddle. I complete the final alignment with my wingman in the 10 seconds between the opening of the outer shell and our entry into the heavy metal cloud. Once we're inside the cloud, sensors and communications are, for all intents and purposes, disabled until we get out of the zone. Yeah, it's essentially chaff. I guess that's a downside of it. TSFs aren't meant to fly at supersonic speeds. Unless you quickly decelerate to an airspeed where the machine can maneuver again, the automatic evasion systems won't work. The drop's final minute. Oh, that's because we're in the cloud. Okay. Haven't come this far. Now we have to survive the final stretch, plunging into laser fire, buck naked without the shells. This is where countless divers will perish. The rocket coaster ride wreaks havoc. Reeks. The rocket coaster ride wreaks havoc on our bodies and minds. If we survive, we'll need some serious time off afterwards. Oh, look at all those Fort class beta and Destroyer class beta, because I remember their names, and I see a grappler down there in the bottom left corner. Metal particles cover the whole sky. Dim light filters through like the sun piercing the thunderheads of a storm. The preceding orbital bombardment riddles the ground with craters, making it resemble the surface of the moon. A monument looms, shining dull and black. It's a familiar sight by now, that massive towering structure. The Hive, a symbol of beta dominance, a landmark that stands for humanity's defeat. A colossal gravestone for countless divers, one that stands in mockery of our efforts, almost as if taunting us chickens who fled before. Data link recovered, battlefield intel confirmed, allied markers. Glad you made it. As the familiar voices chime in over the open channel, my mind switches from one of a lone diver to that of a squadron commander. Whoa! So I hope that that MUV video game is gonna be cool. What's it called? It's like Project Mikhail or something? I don't know. I know literally nothing about that. Or only the tip of the spear. Many have paid the price in blood to get us here. Pilots, divers, all of them, this is the price we pay them back. To show them, yeah. Look at the budget! Look at the budget! I'm well into my third game of Russian roulette. The fourth, I'll think about later. My hands are no longer trembling. With our mission the sole thing in our minds, we charge into the Valley of Death. Wow, that was actually a really quick one. So you don't have to listen to me stutter and get stuck on lines and sound like a absolute... I'm not going to say what I was going to say because, you know, I always forget it's not 2007 and I'm not on fucking Modern Warfare 2 Xbox Live and I can't say the R word like that anymore. I gotta be PC, bro. It's 2021. Yeah, there's definitely a part one. I hope we see them again. That guy was cool. We didn't even know his name. Oh, here we go.
4万以上のベータが地表に向けて移動中だ。ダメです。ユウさんは完全に死んでいます。そうとしか考えられない。奴らは 掘りながら進むん
Yeah,
だ
if my memory serves, Sadagashima didn't go so well.
交代しろ交代し
背部に先行突入した全部隊
Hey, I know
方針
you.
拒絶作戦はテストプラン B へ移行繰り返す
Yeah. Not a single member of the 6th Orbital Diver Corps lived through the Battle of Sadagashima. Wah, wah. Due to the detonation of a G-bomb, none of the survivors could be rescued. The orbital drop holds the record for the worst result in history. 0 returnees. The Aquilius would not die for 4th time. Well. Yep. I remember in Operation Cherry Blossom, none of the divers got out. But I couldn't remember if for Sadagashima, if any of them were able to escape the hive before, you know, shit fucking hit the fan turbo mode. But rest in peace, Aquilius. You will not be forgotten, whoever your name was, Chicken Diver Man. But with that doom and gloom out of the way, next time we'll be going back to the real Muv-Luv, where we'll be doing one of these 3. Odds are I'll save Sumika's for last because, you know, she got the fucking after story one in the beginning. So, you know, it'll be like poetry. It rhymes. How it starts is like how it ends. Anyway, I hope to see you there. And in that case, I'll just flip a coin. Fuck it, I'll do it now. Do I have a coin on me? Do I have anything on me I can flip? I have this Polaroid photo of Saber. So, I'll throw it in the air, and if it lands Saber side up next time, we'll be doing Never Judge a Book. And if it's the back side, we'll be doing Yakisoba Festival. Where'd it land? It landed Saber side up, so we'll be doing Never Judge a Book. Hope to see you guys all then for that. Later.